Short Springs. It was zoned R1, and instead of if we'd had the subdivision regulations in place, even though it was zoned R1, we would have had the leeway to say it needs to be like-size lots, and they would have been half-acre lots instead of the third acre that they currently have, and we wouldn't have had 99 houses in that subdivision.
So let's table the discussion for when it's an agenda item, we can actually talk about it. We're kind of, I'd rather not turn this into a study session.
Okay.
Let's get that on the agenda for next month, and we can have the discussion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, there's no old business, so moving on to new business. Subdivision plats. These are public hearings. The first one up is the Sudbury Short Springs Road minor subdivision, a plat to create 2 lots on 6.30 acres. Applicant is Mr. Josh and Ms. Chelsea Sudbury. Is the applicant here, representative?
The applicant was not able to be present. My name is Andy Best. I'm the land surveyor that was hired to do the division of the property. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. We're just seeking approval for this simple division of 1 6-acre piece into 2 3-acre pieces. So, thank you.
Are we able to ask questions?
If you have any specific questions about the packet, yes. Otherwise, I would like to move to the public hearing, and then we can have a discussion after we have a motion. Up to you. If it's a technical question, we can ask them now. But
I do have a quick question. Maybe I don't.
Go ahead.
A technical question that maybe you could answer, Mr. Best. So I couldn't tell from the packet. Is one of the lots accessed through Short Springs and the other accessed through Macon Manor?
Correct. That is correct. There's each end of the property had a 25-foot strip, one connected to Short Springs, one connected to a new road that was recently created called TriStar Court, which is phase 5 of Macon Manor.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thanks.
thank you, Mr. Best. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd like to invite anyone from the public that would like to speak on this to come forward, limited to 2 minutes. All right, seeing none, I'll move on to Mr. Rush for the staff report.
Thank you. A plat to create 2 lots on 6.3 acres. It's owned R1 low-density residential. It's already established flag lot. You're creating 2 additional flag lots. Lot 1 is 130,000 square feet, 25 foot of road frontage. Its exit is along Short Springs. Fire hydrant is on Short Springs, but it's 750 to 1,000 foot max. So the plat will require a note with options provided by the Tullahoma Fire Department, a fire hydrant, a pond, or sprinklers. Lot 2 is 143,312 square feet, 25 foot of road frontage. Its exit is on TriStar Court. It's got frontage, 25 foot of road frontage, 600 feet of fire hydrant is actually available, electric, water, and sewer. Sewer taps were discovered per the construction plans by staff, meets all zoning and subdivision regulations. Staff recommends to approve.
All right, thank you. Motion?
I have a question. Oh.
Go ahead.
Charles, so I saw on one part that it says under water and sewer services, TUA water available and sewer services will need to be determined. And then I saw in another that possibly there was water access there. I mean, water and sewer access. Do we not know that until later if there is?
So TUA cannot find it. I pulled up the constructions for it, sent it to TUA on pages 11 and 12. I undiscovered pretty much those taps for water and everything else. And then Del Willis agreed. They just hadn't actually sent me additional info.
But it is city sewer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Motion?
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hall? Second. Second from Mr. Sellers. Discussion. Anything? Okay. All right. With that, I'll call the vote then. All in favor of the approval with staff comments of the Sudbury Short Springs Road minor subdivision? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Abstain? Motion passes 7-0. New business B, site plan. These are also public hearings. Vogue Towers at Lamont Lane, the site plan to review a proposed tower located at the corner of Lamont Lane, Carol Lynn Ace, applicant, and the applicant is Vogue Towers LLC. So I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward or a representative and speak to this.
Good evening. My name is Michael Sandifer, the project manager for Vogue Towers in this development. I'm here to answer any questions regarding it.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so anyone from the public invited to come forward. Sir, you're recognized. Please state your name and address in 2 minutes.
William Holder, 121 Lamont Lane. I live on the last house that's be bordering up to this cell tower. I don't have a problem with a cell tower, but I have a problem. I've had 6 bypasses, 8 stents, and a pacemaker, and I've been moved from my regular hunting place because of high wires. So I'm very, very scared about anything like the cell towers. And I've done a little checking on it, and I can't find any consistency. And I know that there is probably no consistency about what distance you should be from the next occupant or next house. Now, looking at this thing, and I just got this, it looks like there is a regulation that'd be 300 feet from the nearest resident. And now, if you look at the map, it says from the cell tower to my house would be 199 feet. And then from the cell tower to my lot line is, from the cell tower to my house would be 289 feet. And I guess my question is, if there's a regulation or stipulation of a maximum of 300 feet, why would you approve a request to move it closer to not 350, no, I'm sorry, I guess it was 450. Is there a 450 requirement between the cell tower?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, what would be the reason for moving it from 450, which is, I guess, approved, to 300? You're looking at a wetland back there, and the only thing I can see that would gain, you may save a little nickel dime on a gravel road, but there's nothing back there behind me other than kind of a swampy area, and I feel very uncomfortable having a cell tower that close. We've got 1.5 acres, and we're out in the yard all the time, and I just don't feel comfortable having something like that close to my house. And I wish you would take a look at that. And it's like a lot of things. They don't think there'll be problems with, the young children, giving young children shots. Well, haven't really had any information about that. And I don't know if they have enough information about the effects of cell towers on the residents, and let's then make a decision on it.
All right. Thank you, sir. We'll address those questions with the applicant.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, I'll close the public hearing and move on to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. This is a request to approve a tower site plan. It's located at 48 acres. The 911 address is 145 Lamont Lane. The applicant is proposing to construct a multi-provider 150-foot monopole tower, galvanized steel finish, self-supporting tubular structure with no guiding wires. It's going to be leased land, 3,600 square foot, will be fenced. Applicant has no other towers within the city limits. Tower will support 3 or more users. Applicant complies with federal, state, and local laws. FAA has said it's a no hazard. Applicant will provide detailed tower and foundation design as part of any building permit application. Page 29, the applicant is going to request separation Separation distance between towers shall be measured between the proposed tower and pre-existing towers. The separation distance shall be measured by drawing or following a straight line between the base of the existing tower and the proposed base, the site plan proposed. For single-family or duplex residential, it's got to be 250 feet or 300% height of tower, whichever is greater. So technically it's 150 foot, so it has to be 450 since that is greater. The applicant is requesting relief from the separation requirement as attached in the drawings. The proposed 150 tower is 290 to the nearest residence. On page 36, you have a fall zone letter for proposed 150-foot monopole, pretty much stating that the tower will collapse onto itself. Vogue Partners shall stipulate that the tower manufacturer designed that the area of potential failure to located in the 50% height, 75 foot of the tower, so that only the top 50% of the tower, top 75% foot would collapse onto itself. This is done by over-design the tower sections below the failure point as necessary. The staff recommends to approve with the applicant's request.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rush. Entertain a motion. Any technical questions?
We'll make a motion to approve with the, so we can have discussion.
All right. Second?
Yeah, second.
We'll give it to Mr. Hall. That's fine. Ms. Mitchell, is your motion? Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like for the gentleman to come back up and can you explain why you need the reduction in the separation from the table that said would be 450 feet away from the residence? I mean, the gentleman has a valid concern, and of course, this is requesting a variance from what is in the table. I'm curious as to know why you feel like you need that, and it looks like there's a lot of land. Is there any reason that you couldn't keep that 450 separation?
This was specifically, the placement back there was based on the property owner's interest in doing this. They have looked at, I believe, potential other uses for that property and did not want this tied up in that. We made sure that in the negotiations that we at least met the setback requirement. You have a setback and a separation in the ordinance, and we wanted to make sure that we at least met the setback requirement of the tower to the property line, the 75% of the tower height to any property line. But it was, in order to make the deal happen, we had to place it there and couldn't get any more distance into the open part of the property.
Do you have anything that can answer the gentleman's question as far as concerns about how the power emitted from the tower could affect his...
Well, yes, and for starters, the power on the tower is not really the concern. It's dissipated so much when you're 150 feet up. I mean, it's generally the devices, like your cordless phone has probably got more power. If anyone still has a landline, that is. I Googled the same thing because, I mean, being honest, you can Google nowadays and find anything you want, pro or con, pretty much. But I looked up the National Library of Medicine, and there was an article published here. I think it's by the Environmental Research for Public Health. And they ran tests specifically regarding all the concern about 5G and what you hear and all the buzz about that. And they conducted, 384 tests were conducted in the 700 megahertz and 3.6 gigahertz range. Among the 384 tests, they observed 43 what they call EMI events, which I assume is electromagnetic interference. The collective results reveal that RF handheld transmitters operating in these two frequency bands do not pose additional risk compared to pre-5G bands, and that the safe distance of 15 centimeters, typically indicated by the PM/ICD manufacturer, is still able to guarantee the patient safety. So even before 5G, it sounds like from a medical standpoint, they were saying if you can maintain your device, roughly 15 centimeters from your pacemaker or other device, that they guarantee safety.
I have a question for you, sir. I didn't see it in here, and my question is, I assume that there'll be lights at the top.
No, ma'am.
There are no lights at the
No,
top.
ma'am. The FAA letter, I don't know if it's in everyone's packet.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in the
Okay.
page.
It came back to determine no hazard to aviation, and so there's no lighting required on this pole.
Perfect.
The power dissipated. I had a question earlier, I was kind of talking to Mr. Rush about it, but it looks like there's some FAA regulations concerning 5G and navigation and stuff like that, 5G C-band specifically. And then you have a table on the next page. I'm not sure what the relevance of that table is. I mean, it does give the power per frequency band, but the 5G C-band is not even in that table.
Right.
So what was the, and it looks like you got 55 dBW is, I don't know, it's less than a megawatt. Maybe 500 megawatts or 500 kilowatts.
The table.
I don't know what typical power for cell phone is, but it does dissipate it like at 1 over the square of the radius, but we're not going to get into that. I feel like the distance, even being that high up off the ground, is probably an ample separation, like if you were standing right under the tower.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll yield as, I think I asked a
Right.
question.
So when the carriers are installing on rooftops, now, I don't know if there's any rooftop applications downtown here on like a bank building or anything.
Wi-Fi. I think there's some Wi-Fi towers.
Yeah, so typically, if they're on a rooftop, they actually do have to cordon off an area for the general public safety. But I mean, from a dissipation standpoint, I mean, that area, be 20 feet or 30 feet, and they do cordon those off on rooftops just for everyday, as far as not taking the system offline or anything. The table that's part of the FAA is generally the developer just files for all the different carrier frequencies that are licensed. And that way, this one, Verizon, but that way, when AT&T comes on, they don't have to go back and file their own FAA to add frequencies, and then Dish add their own, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the FAAs that are being approved right now are going back and being refiled with C-band. That's been a big topic over the last year.
Okay, so this is not a C-band antenna, is that correct?
Well, not at this time.
Okay, all right, that makes sense then, thank you.
I think you had a question earlier, if I overheard.
I was just wondering what the table was.
Yeah, it's just all the frequencies, so.
Yeah, and why there are 2 lines of everything, but I guess that's for each, you have 2 carriers at the moment that are applying for that?
They just, all the different, the old carriers from years ago, your traditional cellular carriers, they have their markets, their licensed spaces are called RSAs, MSAs, and then you got the PCS, and they divided different licensures up in different areas, and so it just captures that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you already have a couple carriers. Are you able to tell us who they are?
Specifically developing this for Verizon Wireless.
I knew Verizon, but...
We were talking about this earlier. I'm not on the sale. I'm just the project
Gotcha.
guy, so I don't know specifically if they have. I do know Verizon is there because I've gotten their information over to apply, but I don't know as far as the next one. Generally, most of the places they do develop these are areas where more than one carrier needs assistance, and so it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know.
And secondly, the citizen that had the health concern question seems like that he has another question, and would it be possible that he could ask his question? I just feel like because it's a health question.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Before he does that, can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
So if they were to move that 100 feet in just one direction, not from each corner, but just move it 100 feet, would that break the deal? I mean, the reason I'm just calculating some numbers, one of the thing we get is, if you look at the hypotenuse of that, from the top of the tower to his house, if we moved it 100 feet, it would almost give you the 450 feet from the top of the tower to his house. So we don't normally do that, but according to regulations, but I'm just looking at, is it possible that would break the deal if we could do that, if we could, move it just along linear along one side of the property? Because I'm assuming that this property, the X in this, Charles, is that where it's at?
Correct, yes.
The approximate location, yes, sir.
Yeah, so if they moved it along that top line about 100 feet, it wouldn't lose that much property, but it would still gain him closer to the clearance that it's asking for in the table.
And my understanding is, the property owner actually wanted it further west as we're looking.
Closer to his property.
Because again, he has contemplated doing other things with that property. And that was also those access points off Lamont Lane because of that. So I can't say with 100% certainty, but I would believe, yes, that might break the deal.
Okay. Like here from the chair.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Huller, you're recognized again. Thank you.
Thank you. I was lucky to add one point. It seems like, I'm 84 years old and I've seen a lot of things done. It's more convenient. It seems like, it's not a burden for him. Now, the land next to me is wetland, and I don't know, they wanted to build a house there one time. Mr. Stroop did, and it was too low, so I can't see anything other than maybe put a pasture out there or something, but I don't see any value to that land as far as if he moves it back 100 feet, how that's going to destroy any value in his property. So I just appreciate the second talk, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roach, I guess my real question is why are we talking about that this is a variance?
It's not laid out as a variance. It says per the ordinance, the planning commission can give this. It doesn't have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for discussion?
Well, I like the idea of having the tower. We all know we need the coverage, but I'm not sure why we would change our regulations out of convenience. That's convenience to one is not to all. So, thank you.
Mr. Rush, what is this regulation? Is it a city ordinance?
It's Chapter 6. I'm attached it to the packets.
Is it 49?
Yeah, page 50. Or 49 exactly. Chapter 5, telecommunication towers.
It's 56 and 57. Might be which one.
Yeah, 56, 57 is where it states that, and then
The regulation is
Feet or 300%.
intended to be for collapse safety, not necessarily power dissipated from the tower. You could, you wouldn't need anywhere near that much radius if you have the power, if you quarter the power. So I don't see any distinguishing reasons to not have this for radiation.
Well, no,
more than the safety.
I agree. I mean, but you're asking for the variance from what's in the tables out of convenience so that the gentleman can use the property for other reasons. That's to his advantage, but not to this other gentleman's.
But I think if we're looking at the intent, and it's for the reasons of collapsing of the tower, I think they've addressed that within here on how the tower would be able to collapse, and that not being a liability for the resident. Okay.
Mr. Rush, could you explain one more time why, if it is a variance, why isn't it a request for a variance?
Again, that's the way it's actually written. The planning commission can pretty much grant any kind of relief per that, so I don't know why that's not, it's just the way it's written. I mean, it would make more sense, but it just says planning commission, so that's where I took it.
Technically, those are two different boards, even though it's the same people.
All right. Last time around, Mr. Comer, you good? I'm going to call the vote. All in favor?
Is the motion on the floor with this excerpt?
Yes, it is.
Okay, with the
The
relief.
motion is with staff comments and with the exemption to the.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And the exemption is due to the safety concern being mitigated by the design of the tower.
Okay.
And there's a letter that says that. All right.
But it is possible that you could ask for that slight little distance. You could ask the owners, they might possibly agree to it. You just don't know for sure, correct?
Correct, I know they were,
Sure, yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
recognized.
I know they were adamant about the location of it, but
I mean, if they knew kind of what the concern was in the public, maybe they might agree to it. We don't know that.
I don't know. I know that they're aware of the concern too.
Call the vote. All in favor of, what was the motion? Hang on. Sorry, I got too many papers in front of me. All in favor of the approval of the title application and site plan, subject to all staff comments? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, so that's 3 noes with, let's see, Wilson, Sellers, and Comer. And 4 yeses. So motion passes 4-0 with Wilson, Sellers, or 4-3. Motion passes 4-3 with Wilson, Sellers, and Comer as nays. All right, moving on. Hangars at Tullahoma Airport. A site plan to review the proposed location of 11 hangars, Ledford Mill roadside of the airport, and 1 additional building at the Tullahoma Airport. Hangars will have access to the northwest taxiway lane and the taxiway applicant Jeff Jackson. Mr. Jackson, our representative, you're recognized.
Hello, I'm Jeff Jackson. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have with the project, and John Glass is with me as well, the manager at the Tullahoma Airport.
All right, thank you. Can you explain your plans a little bit?
Sure. So what we're trying to achieve is to have more hangars available for people at the airport, and we'll have 2 hangars per building, and our goal is to have more activity at the airport and nice new hangars for, I know there seems to be a need for hangars there. I'm at Tullahoma Airport as well, and it's just a need that I've seen and hoping to take that off the table, so.
All right, thank you. That was enough time for me to find my spot in my notes.
Okay, I can go on if you need me to delay some more time, so.
No, you're good. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Everything, so if we pass this, then you have to in turn get, anything that you do there has to go through the airport. Is that correct?
Airport Authority? Airport Authority, is it?
I know, was that probably the case, John? Yeah, so.
You have, okay.
Yeah, so obviously, we'll build everything to code and spec and be the airport, be a part of that, so we want to be on the same page, but did I answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
I had one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the staff comments is, what is the proposed K building? They're on a
Is that the small building?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, we have decided to take that building off. It was going to be either an individual hangar or even a kind of a pilot lounge, if you will, and I don't think we'll need that with the other building, so.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, this is a public hearing, so at this time I'll open the public hearing and invite the public to come forward to speak on this. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Rush with the staff report.
Thank you. Per the Tullahoma zoning ordinance, any activity or structure must be come before the planning commission to get approval. It's zoned I-1 and has the Tullahoma Airport overlay, which is AO-1. 11 hangars, that will be 5,400 square foot. Hangars will have access to the northwest taxiway lane, as well as the taxiway connection to the runways. Currently, 3 other buildings are in the near vicinity. This is actually off of Ledford Mill. Staff recommends to approve with DAC comments.
Thank you. Motion?
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
All right, Mr. Hall. Second. Second, Mr. Rice. All right, discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the site plan, subject to all staff comments? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you. And with that, the Planning Commission regular meeting is adjourned, and we will move on to the Tullahoma Board of Zoning Appeals. All right, I call to order the Tullahoma Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting on October 16th, 2023. The read and approve the minutes of the September 18th, 2023 meeting. I'll entertain a motion. Motion approved. Motion to approve from Mr. Sellers.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hall. Ms. Wilson, are you abstaining?
I'll abstain.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of the minutes as written? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstain? Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson. Sorry. All right. Sellers. New business, variance 234, to reduce the 35-foot building front yard setback requirement to 15 foot, and to increase the front yard fence height from 3.5 to 6. The applicant is Mr. Kenneth Pearson. I'd like to invite the applicant forward at this time. Welcome back.
First, my name is Kenneth Pearson, 111 Diggs Drive. Do I need to just kind of describe it?
Just describe what you, yeah.
So my house it lays on Diggs Drive. The front of the house is actually on Diggs Drive. The side of the house is on South Washington Street. South Washington dead ends right down there at the end of that road. And over across the street is industrial. So we have Freedom Industries, Cubic Precision. They're right down that road on the other side of the road. The reason why I want this variance is so that I can put a garage on that side of the house and put a 6-foot fence on that road frontage, because our ordinances say they're supposed to have a 3.5-foot fence on road frontage. But since it's really not road frontage to anybody that's over there, and like I said, it does dead end right at the, just a block down, it dead ends. It ends that road. So that's why I'm asking for the variance.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'll invite anyone from the public. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and Mr. Rush, staff report.
Thank you. Can you go to production, please? This property has two fronts. It is an unusual shaped lot. Wanting to reduce the 35-foot front yard setback to 15 foot along South Washington and allow an increase in front yard fence height from 3.5 feet to 6 along South Washington. Property line is 40 foot from the dwelling structure, 20 foot from the road to the property line. South Washington is classified as an urban collector, so it's got a 60-foot right-of-way. It's zoned R1. He's wanting a garage and fence. South Washington Street dead ends. It's across from industrial zone land and occupied by Freedom Industries. Staff recommends to approve this variance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion?
Second.
All right, motion from Mr. Mayor Noes and second from Mr. Bill Comer. Any discussion? All right, with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the approval of the variance request?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. And that was Noes and Comer. All right. Good luck with your development, Mr. Pearson. Variance 235, to increase the allowable projection into the front yard setback from 6 foot to 10 foot and to allow it for it to be covered. Applicant Diane Smith. Ms. Smith.
I just want to make a comment. I'm going to recuse myself from this, and she's one of my employees.
No, right.
I'm Diane Smith, and I live at 304 South Jefferson Street, and I'm just asking for an awning to come out to where I have put new concrete, and it's got a step down, and I just want the awning to go out to the end of where it steps down.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Mr. Rush has already measured everything for me.
All right, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing, open public hearing for anyone from the public. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to increase the allowable projections into the front yard setback from 6 foot to 10 foot and allow it to be covered. It's R2. It's a non-conforming conforming zoning, so technically it's zoned R2, which doesn't allow for trailer parks, but it's a conforming structure since it's been allowed in the past. It's 304 South Jefferson Street. She's wanting a 200 square foot porch. The right-of-way for South Jefferson is 100 foot, so her structure is actually 25 foot from the property line, and the property line is 35 foot from the road. It's a local road that has a 100 foot right-of-way, so based on this and all other staff findings, staff recommends to approve this variance.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion? Motion from Mr. Noes. Second from Mr. Sellers. Discussion. Mr. Rush, I got one comment. Is it typical that we have a 100-foot right-of-way on just a city street?
No, it's not. I mean, in Tullahoma, a little bit you'll see this, but it shouldn't be. I mean, that's why she was allowed to get the variance. It's just because 100-foot right-of-way is quite large, so yeah.
Just for information, all of the street rights were in the original town plan of the city of Tullahoma are 100 feet wide. That's the original plan that's recorded at the courthouse. It was developed in the 1850s by Tullahoma.
Is there an approach that we should take to make this to where we don't need variances? I'm not going to say it's silly, I'm sorry, but for these requests that don't have any real merit to why we're not doing it.
Yeah, currently that's the comprehensive plan that's being developed by the Community Planning Development Committee, so they're taking some of that into action.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that. All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll call the vote. It's noted that Mr. Rice is abstaining, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, new business 3C, home occupancy upon review, 001. First one, to review a home occupancy application in the R1 zoning district for Music with Michelle at 110 Redbud Lane. Applicant is Michelle Gibson. Ms. Gibson, would you like to come forward? Good to see you again.
So I was here in August requesting a variance and was informed that's not really the best way to do this, so I've been told that a permit is what I should request, and so that's why I'm here today. If anybody was not here, I teach group music classes, and my parents attend with their children certain weeks. So because of that, the normal drop-off pickup style does not work, which would be legal, but in this case, I'm asking for more parking. The max number of families that I would have is 8, and so just hoping for a permit.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. All right, this is public hearing. Is anyone would like to come forward and speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the staff report.
Yes, thank you. The existing single-family residence of the property was construction in 1954. Second property is .6 acres within low-density residential zoning district and is located within the Bel Air subdivision. The property is pretty much surrounded by single-family R1 zoning districts. The applicant has also went out to actually get residents' feedback on that. No one has said no to that so far. So staff recommends to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Rush.
Move to approve.
Second from Mr. Noes. Any discussion?
Was there a proposed change to something that Daniel had suggested to eliminate having to do?
Yeah, so this was something that I felt like we did the right thing and did it the right way, and we took something that didn't make...
So we added something that allows this, right?
We essentially allowed for any home occupancy businesses that do not meet the stringent criteria to come forward and request a, what do we call it, a review of it to the planning, to the zoning commission. So I think we're doing the right thing here, and this is good, and we look forward I look forward to Ms. Gibson in the neighborhood. So you live down the street from me. I think we've talked about that already, but anyway. All right, with that, anything else?
Chairman Swear, you live in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
In fact, 40 years ago, I lived back door neighbors to this house. So I'm very familiar with that property, and I think having 8 vehicles parked on the lot when you teach music classes is only appropriate. I'm glad to see that someone's teaching music in the city. So thank you for doing that.
With that, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion passes 7-0. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a good night. We'll see you in a month. Thanks.